Now, last month we heard from Kale's very own Barney Hayter about the launch of the Men Outside Crowdfunder and what the project hopes to achieve. I'm pleased to say he's back to give us an update and reminder of the project and how you can help. Handing it over to Nath.
To behave in there, we're going to need some marriage counselling otherwise as we get on later on. Afternoon everybody, hello, great to be back on Chaos TV. We're here with lovely Barney.
Hey!
Yay! Before we get into this, question for the nation, burgers when you go out, what are you saying? Because you said you're quite opinionated about this.
Well, there are kind of important factors to take into account. Like, is it a burger restaurant or is it a restaurant and you've ordered a burger?
There's lots of variables, isn't there?
Like, is it
I'm saying like a sit-down meal. Because
Okay.
I feel like, with the exception of like McDonald's.
Yeah, not to drop any names, but if you went to like a Bub Hocks or a Keat Mount or a Kubu's, you like that, just straight hands in, you know. You can literally like not even use your hands and just eat it off the plate.
I feel like for my own sake, because I know what I'm like, I'll end up wearing it. So I feel like I have to get the old knives and forks out. Producer Mia said when she went on her first date with current boyfriend to a place, had a burger, whipped out the cutlery, and she was like, "What are you doing? Who are you?" And
What he did?
Trying to impress, you see, because he wanted to civilise. Like,
I thought you meant Mia did, and I was going to say, well, she had success, so maybe that's a little tip. I would say,
reeled him in.
Like a samurai, halve that burger with the knife, fork, get out of it. Half it with the knife, and then you can attack it with your hands from both sides. That would be my technique.
There you go.
A nice middle ground.
Make sure you vote, please. I haven't voted yet. Barney's gone quite off piece there.
There isn't a category for me. I need to tick them all.
We're going to talk about Men Outside, which you very kindly came and spoke to us about last month. Can't believe summer's gone so quickly.
Yeah, terrifying.
For people who maybe who missed that or don't know much about Men Outside, it's been pretty heavily featured on our social media quite a lot. Would you just remind us about what Men Outside is?
Yeah, of course. So Men Outside is I guess a support group would be the best way to put it, which helps men who have struggled with or are struggling with mental illness or just having a really kind of tough time, as a lot of us have had during this pandemic. And it is basically almost like a therapy through just outdoorsy stuff. So shooting arrows, canoeing, woodwork, you know, survival skills. And that's kind of the delivery method, but the kind of bigger context of it is creating a kind of safe space and like a social network for these guys who through their difficulties with mental health a lot of them have become quite isolated, and it's just about kind of getting them in contact with other people in similar situations and realizing that, you know, that you're not the only one and that there are other people out there to help you with it. But it's great, really good fun.
We hear quite a lot about Chaos Farm and, of course, the importance and the benefits of getting back outside and reconnecting with nature. And we heard just on the Chaos Farm segment previously from some of our participants about what motivates them and how it's helped them. But I feel like this is a lot more specialist for men and some of the activities that they might typically want to get involved with. I mean, I've seen footage of, like say, wood carvings and proper like outdoor activity stuff that I feel like you might do when you're at school, kind of thing. So kind of what's the magic in that? Why does it need to be kind of tailored towards those kind of interests?
I think, I think the fact that it's a bit of a health and safety nightmare, and the fact that, like, you know, you're out in the woods, sharp objects and stuff, almost makes it feel really casual. And I think especially for guys that are very used to being hands-on outdoors, and that's been taken away from them through the pandemic and before that, it's quite therapeutic because it's almost a distraction and kind of clears your mind a bit. And it's like a therapy, almost like meditation, I suppose you could compare it to. That, you know, whilst your hands are busy, your mind is a lot more free, and you, by engaging in these activities with other people, you are, because for a lot of the guys, kind of social anxiety and things like that, one of their biggest drawbacks. And yeah, I think just having that middle ground of you're both engaged in an activity that will not succeed if you're not both engaged in it. If the whole group isn't doing it, it probably won't. If you're trying to light a fire and there's only one guy rubbing a stick, you might not get it lit. So it's almost that kind of group activity is just a delivery method for connecting with each other and just building that network.
And I think there's a beautiful simplicity of it all, isn't it? Where I think as a man in my 30s, like you don't necessarily take part in activities like that, so you can kind of like being put into it really gives you that reconnection to things like that, because life, I'm sure you can appreciate, gets so busy sometimes, and like the last 18 months we've been through, like sometimes you don't take that opportunity to stop and actually do those, go into the woods, get out on a kayak, go and learn a new kind of hands-on skill. And some of the stuff we see at Chaos Farm, holistically with the animals and things, isn't always right for everybody. So having those kind of like, dare I stereotype it, like manly things to do, it's actually really rewarding and really refreshing. And I guess if you're in crisis or in a place where you are really struggling, kind of someone bringing that all together with like-minded people must be kind of the magic behind it all.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big part of it is that it is quite a, stereotype, all knives and axes and cutting down trees and stuff but it really is so beneficial for these guys, because for one, they're finding interests, a lot of them that either they had before or that they didn't know they had, and they're really, really bang into. And then the other thing is it kind of, trying to think of the best way to put it, it makes you feel that like your mental health isn't an issue at that moment, that it is okay to not feel great, but that it is also okay to kind of forget about for a little while and just kind of either put it on the back burner, or you're just kind of distracted from it, which is almost a therapy in itself. And I think it's just that kind of getting back to basics thing that is really beneficial for a lot of people. I mean, it's like going, if you're feeling a bit down or a bit tired or something and you just go for a nice walk or something like that, that works for some people. And then this is in that same kind of field, although it is a bit more hands-on, obviously,
You have had the pleasure or privilege of kind of following along with the group recently and kind of going on their journey with them and capturing it with it. Give us an example of some of the things that you've been doing recently and some of the places you've been, because it's not all about just hanging in the woods and making fires.
No, well, this is the thing. I mean, there's so much. When I was first kind of told about it, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I went to one session, made a video. This would have been when the project was first starting last year, and I went to one and then I went to another one. I was like, whoa, this is totally not the same thing at all. And it's like the variety is so much. So it's the first one we went to was kind of building like basic traps and snares, and just some basic woodwork stuff. A lot of canoeing down at Trelisic, along the river, which, with the weather we've had, has just been amazing. We did archery over at Chaos Farm. We've done some kind of woodwork and forestry stuff over at Pill Farm by Trelisic, with Neil up there. So yeah, it's, you turn up and you think you know what's going to happen, and it very much goes another way, but always for the best. It's just amazing.
And obviously mental health can be quite a complex thing, and as individuals we all have different needs and attitudes to looking after ourselves. In your experience and working with some of the group, is it a challenge to get people to take that first step and come forward and take part in group activities like this? Because I think it can be quite difficult if you're isolated and quite anxious about things to kind of say, hey, I want to, come out and jump forward and join a group of strangers and go and sail down the Tamar on a kayaking day. Like, is it quite a challenge because we also hear from like society, men of a certain age are very difficult to tap into to stand up and say, actually, I do want some support. My mental health isn't great.
I would say it's the thing about the Men Outside group is that there is no pressure to be a leading member of a specific activity. And I think the pattern that I've normally seen is that when someone new joins the group, generally speaking, they'll sit back and kind of just watch or get involved in kind of a bit more of a minor way for the first kind of half of the session, and then we'll kind of realise that everyone else in the group is in that same situation and have come along that same path, and then they'll just slowly kind of integrate into the group. And I think the main thing about why Men Outside does so well is that there is no pressure to be, all singing, all dancing. It's if you don't fancy it on the day, it's just a nice excuse to be outside when it's lovely and sunny, and I think it isn't something that I've ever seen as an issue with Men Outside, is that because to be there on the day, a lot of them have made that step already, and obviously BBO do a lot of amazing work getting people into the program. But yeah, and different people lead the group on different days, depending on what their interests are, and it's just really cool to see because people will be giving tips to others, and then it will swap round on a different session. It's just a really, really nice group, and I think it really helps put people at ease, especially like you said, it can be quite difficult, especially men in that demographic. It's quite hard to get them to engage because of the troubles that they're having. But I'd say that's probably where it's at its strongest.
And what's your, I guess, biggest takeaway from the time you've spent with the group, getting to know these people, seeing the growth in them? Like, what's your biggest takeaway, I suppose, from what you've seen?
I think it's just that there is no, for one, there's no background that is going to be immune to difficulties with mental health. Like, the group is, of a group of blokes in Cornwall, about as diverse as it could possibly be. You have people from all over, people of all different ages, and they've all had their individual battles, and they all give something to each other. And I think that's the thing that I've been kind of the most inspired by, is how that it doesn't really matter how small, a token of appreciation might be, or a bit of advice to someone, or who it's coming from. Like, everyone has that little thing to give to each other, and it happens every single week. Someone will say, "Oh, you should try holding your knife like this," or "Oh, when I was in that situation, I was feeling really down, I did this." And it might be something like actual physical, practical advice, or it might be something a bit more kind of, don't know if spiritual's the word, but there you go. But yeah, I think that's been the thing that I've really seen as a constant throughout the project, and it's just really beautiful to see.
Amazing. Well, we spoke a lot about some of the amazing activities you've been able to go and join along with. You made a small film for us to have a look at, so let's have a look.
Just tell you a little bit about Men Outdoors. It's a course where we've had a group of men that have voluntarily come along to get involved in outdoor activities to allow them to engage in the environment, and by doing that allowing them to sort of help with their mental health. And so we've had a variety of people come along, different ages and different sort of stages of their mental health, where they've been able to come out, just have some downtime, learn some really great outdoor skills, and just find themselves again and make friendship and learn new activities as they've gone along. Whilst the guys have been coming along to Men Outdoors, I have seen some significant changes. The confidence is one of the major changes that I've seen in the guys when they've come along. Sometimes they just find they're a little bit sort of shy, they're struggling a little bit with their own confidence, with the abilities, their personal abilities, practical abilities, but once they have a nice relaxed environment, fire to sit around, like-minded people to chat to, they slowly build that confidence up, learn the new skills, or reignite old skills they had, and then you can see them change as they practice more. And I can say over this duration, I have seen guys that have come in who are now good enough to employ. Their skill level, their confidence, their ability to engage with people of all ages, and their willingness to share their knowledge as well has been played a very big part in their development, and it's been an absolute pleasure to see them develop in this way.
Well, Men Outdoors has affected my life in many ways. Although I do go out and do a bit of photography and whatever, it's not really that often, and getting out with these guys and Jay and learning about bushcraft has been really good. It's given me a bit of confidence, and it's good to be around other people as well, you know, and especially people in the same situation.
It's helped me to look at things in a different perspective and to trust people more. And it's also helped my mental health because I had a fear of going out. I've been able to meet new people, so that's how it's helped me. And I've gained new experiences, so it's helped me by being confident with yourself and being confident around other people.
All of the butterflies.
Plenty of them.
I think watching that, there's no question about just how much those guys have enjoyed the project, and also the benefits it has, and obviously hearing from you this morning. There's a crowdfunder that Chaos have been running for a few weeks now to kind of support this project and continue on. First off, will you just tell us a little bit about the crowdfunder, why we're kind of asking people to donate? Because I feel crowdfunders are sometimes used because the funding isn't there, essentially, like for these really essential things. So we turn to the public for their generosity.
I think the thing that me and Baz have kind of noticed, and I mean, I'm sure that other people that have worked on similar projects and have tried to acquire funding for these kind of things have noticed, is that for often, and obviously this is a massive generalisation, any funders watching, I don't mean this in any offence, generally speaking, a funder is going to be looking for something that is like solid and tangible. And as amazing as this project is, like, it doesn't give you scientific results on how someone's progressing or the changes that it's making in someone's life, because it is a slow process, and it's just a matter of kind of helping someone recondition themselves to be able to operate socially and to kind of reintegrate themselves. So I think that's the thing that me and Babs have noticed consistently, is that that inability to give you like hard evidence makes it quite difficult to be like, give us money to run this project, and it does, in the scope of social projects, it's a very cheap one to run, but it's made such a difference to these guys that it would be such a shame for it to stop anytime soon. But yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest difficulty that we've found, is that it's just hard to kind of, because you see it when you go and talk to them and you interview them, you see how much of a difference it's made, and even if it's just getting them out of the house for the day, or they've had some amazing experiences, totally changed their worldview. You see that when you go and talk to them, but obviously a funder isn't able to be like, hey, Robert from Liscard, how has this project helped you? So we set up the crowdfunder to just kind of try and secure some funding for the future of the project, and also there is this idea of sending the guys on a bit of a kind of survival trip over to Sweden and kind of giving them that amazing experience as well. So it's it's just about kind of securing the longevity of Men Outside.
And to tell us about some of the rewards and things are up to grabs, because that's how the great thing about crowdfunders and how they work is it's not just about give us your money. It's actually, if you're generous enough to give us some money, this is what we can give you in exchange. And there's some really unique rewards in this one.
Yeah, the main one is a little bit of wild camping, and emphasis on the wild.
So what is wild camping, so we're clear?
Wild camping is, so like, you have camping on a campsite, and then you have wild camping, which is essentially camping in a pretty inhospitable environment, but like not as in that it's like, you know, snakes or anything. It's just like somewhere that's really isolated, somewhere that's really kind of out in the sticks. So it's a spot on Chaos Farm, and it's basically right on top of the cliff looking down over the beautiful ocean deep in the woods, and it's a really, really amazing spot, and it's never been open to anyone before.
And I feel like, well, that might sound like hell for some people.
Yeah.
No toilets. Actually, for some people, like you say, the location alone is so beautiful and so exclusive, then I can see the huge benefit.
Yeah, definitely.
Feeling quite cool.
And yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done any wild camping. Obviously, anyone that's ever been to Scotland, I'm sure you've done a lot of it because you can do it any way you want. And it's a very, very different experience because you wake up and you can't hear anyone. You know, you're totally on your own. It's super peaceful, you know, hoping that the weather's good. And yeah, it's just a really great experience. So that's one of the rewards available.
Brilliant stuff. I think the crowdfunder's got a week left on it, so if you do want to donate to it, please do check it out. Of course, you can find across the Chaos social media, Chaos Group UK on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links for that. It's also crowdfunder.co.uk/men-outside. Please do go and take a look at that if you want to support this cause. I think, Barney, in your own words, I'd really like to know your kind of take on what we as a nation, as a country, should be doing to invest and support projects like this, because I think we've come a long way in the last few years as society and as the health service to understand people are really struggling with their mental health for so many different reasons. Pandemic hasn't helped at all. It's made the problem even worse. There's a bit more support in methods of social prescribing. There's that kind of, I think, openness now where more of us are going, actually, I do need some help. How can we do this? There's a lot less reliance on going to the doctor and just getting antidepressants. Antidepressants work for some people, fantastic, but it shouldn't be the first thing we offer. There's a lot more holistic ways to do this. So what's your take on where, you know, if you're PM, here's the blank checkbook, what should we be doing? Where should we be going in the next 5 years?
I think... I mean, you nailed it there, that the pandemic has made it a lot more difficult for so many people. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword because I think the pandemic's also highlighted how big of an issue it is and how common and the kind of extent to which people are affected by it. And you're definitely right about, you know, the kind of clinical route in regards to treating mental health and depression, anxiety. And obviously that's fantastic, but I think there has to be, from seeing what I've seen with Men Outdoors, I think there has to be a point between the two, because that kind of clinical treatment method, as beneficial as it is, it does build a bit of stigma for the person receiving the treatment that, you know, they have something terribly wrong with them. And, you know, obviously mental health is a massive, you know, health risk in this country, but one thing that people are struggling with mental health don't need is the stigma of, you know, I'm ill, or I'm, you know, there's something uncurable and horrifically wrong with me, like, because that isn't the case. You know, it is very much a part of being human to experience mental health issues, and I think that's something that projects like this kind of highlight, and I think if I was PM with my big hat on, you know, thinking of solutions, I'd say something that integrates people with other people that are struggling with similar issues can only really be of benefit, and something that makes you feel human for having these conditions. So things like Men Outside is fantastic. I know there are a lot of projects in Cornwall that are starting to do similar things. I know there's climbing groups in Penzance and things like that, who are all kind of using this, you know, a practical application as a means to kind of connect people who are struggling with mental health. And I think that would be my biggest takeaway, is that there isn't a one-stop shop that's going to fix all these problems for people. And I think if you have options along the way that go from the clinical to the more kind of integratory and getting people to feel that they're not alone in this, that can only be a good thing, to have more of those options.
And I think what I love about the Men Outside project and all these kind of similar projects that are beginning to pop up is the simplicity of it all. It is almost quite old school in a way of, you know, just coming together and doing group activities, and some of them really simplistic and back to nature. And I think if we can fund that, cover the costs for that, then surely that's surely got to be far more beneficial than, you know, big, elaborate, complex things.
Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Barney, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing with us more about the Men Outside project. The crowdfunder does end very soon, so make sure you head over to Chaos Group UK across social to donate to that if you can. And it's crowdfunder.co.uk/men-outside as well. Also, Barney, off onto new pastures very soon. So thank you very much for all your hard work with Chaos TV, because you are part of the original crew. And we wish you all the best of luck. So thank you for all your work with Chaos.
Oh, thank you. And I cannot thank you guys enough. It's been an absolute, I mean, roller coaster is definitely the right word. But yeah, I mean, it's been manic and it's been beautiful. And I can't thank you all enough for everything that you've given me at this time.
Love it. Thank you, Barney. Pudge and Els, if you're still together, back to you.
Wow. Oh, the faith that they have in us, eh?
Was it Nathan?
I think Nathan married us, apparently.
Yeah, he's done that before as well.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
pretty
like,
sure
I
it was
think they
Nathan
were
a few
in
weeks
marriage
back that
counselling or
accused
something,
us of being
divorce.
married.
We're not married!
It's not happening.
Wait, what? Wow, okay, just had a bellowing laughter down the headphones at that one. Thank you, Owen, for that. That's beautiful. Anyway, I will get back on topic. That was absolutely brilliant there from Nathan Barney. I loved interviewing Barney myself with Ross last time, actually. We were talking about the Men Outside stuff. Very, very brilliant. We're going to have a bit of music now. We'll be back with you after the next couple of songs. Have a little bit of a chat before we go into the next hour. Stay tuned.